I don't feel like a man is definitely the most common thing that I've heard guys with ED say, and it's exactly how I felt when I had ED. So if that's you, I want you to get two things out of this video. The first one is that you misunderstand what being a man is, and if you start to understand it correctly, you'll be able to start feeling like a man literally today. And the second thing is that this is a fixable problem. So I don't know anything about your situation, like your unique situation, but I can tell you that unless you have like a serious like car accident that caused like serious nerve damage, or you have, some medication that's causing it that you can't get off of, like your problem is 100% fixable. And I'm going to help you understand that at the end of this video. So if you don't know me, my name is Cam Joyner, and I had a very severe case of erectile dysfunction, and I struggled with it for 7 years. But I finally overcame it, and now I can literally get hard whenever I want. And I've been helping guys like you fix their sex lives for the last 7 years. So if you want help or you want to work with me one-on-one, there's a link in the description below where you can learn more. So if you don't feel like a man, we have to look at what is actually the thought process that's happening there. So it's something like, I'm losing an erection, and therefore I'm not a man, which actually has a subtle opposite built into it, which means that in order to feel like a man, I have to get erections. And we actually need to look at both of these because both of them are wrong and they actually prevent you from getting better. So the first one, I lose erections, therefore I'm not a man. So I want you to think about the best football player that you can think of. And depending on the country, football might mean something very different. But think of the best football player that you know of. Even if you don't know anything about football player, you probably know one or two. And now think about probably like the best business person that you can think of, or like the person that you know that's the most successful. Whatever your definition of success is, but who's the guy you can think of that's the most successful? And now I want you to think of the guy that you think of as the best father. So it could be your father, it could be one of your friends' fathers, it could be a TV father, whatever. Okay, so now I want you to ask yourself a really important question. Those three guys, are there any of them that you would consider to be manly? Okay, now another question. What's their erection quality like? You have no idea. Like before this video, you've never thought about that guy's erection quality and like factored that into your judgment about whether or not he's a man. So I asked you to think of three guys, and statistically, 1 out of every 3 guys in America has erectile dysfunction. So statistically, one of the 3 guys that you just thought of has this problem. And do you consider him to be less a man if you think about it that way? Chances are you don't. So what I want you to pay attention to is the fact that the definition that you're applying to somebody being a man is different when you're applying it to someone else than when you apply it to yourself. And when you're applying it to yourself, the only impact that that label has is it changes how you feel. So if you notice, when you think of yourself as not being a man, you're probably feeling bad. You don't like the way you feel. And so part of the problem is just how you are defining a man to yourself. So if another guy can be really good at soccer, or really good at business, or really good artist, or whatever, really good father, and that makes him a man, that definition has to also match for you, which means that your erection quality actually has nothing to do with being a man. So that being said, I will say that just knowing that is not going to change how you feel. But what's important to do from here is to change how you talk to yourself about it. Because the way that you treat yourself in your mind is contributing to not feeling like a man. So the second piece of this is that in your mind, you're thinking, to feel like a man, I have to get my erections back. And this is actually backwards. So if you continue to think, in order to feel like a man, I have to get my erections back, you're never going to get better. Because, which probably is leading to why you feel like this problem is unfixable. So you've probably come up with the idea in your mind that it's a physical problem and it doesn't have a solution, which is also just making you feel terrible, and it's also not true. But I get it. This is like how I felt for a really, really long time. I'm lucky in that it only took me 2 years to realize it wasn't a physical problem, but we'll talk about that more at the end. So the reason that this is so insidious is because in order to get your erections back, you actually have to start behaving in a way where you feel like a man. And there's one specific thing that we need to talk about, which is if you ask yourself right now, what have you done to improve this problem? So I don't mean watching YouTube videos. Keep watching my YouTube videos. But like, what have you actually tried to change in order to fix the problem? And some of you are sitting there and you're probably thinking, well, I've watched your YouTube videos. I've been on Reddit. I think about it all the time. I've tried pills. But really, if you examine those, none of those are really trying to improve the situation. Like taking a pill, doctors often prescribe the pills and say you can use this to boost your confidence. But I don't know a guy who's ever used the pills to boost his confidence. There's one guy in my school group who's trying, and I'm curious about the results because he seems like he is going about it more skillfully. But for the most part, most guys that I've seen run into this problem, they try to get on the pills to boost their confidence, and then they just get addicted to the pills. And then the process of getting off them is very difficult. So if you are really honest with yourself, like, have you actually tried to solve this problem? So if you're a guy who's like been to the doctor and you've been to a psychiatrist and you've been to a sex therapist and you've tried hypnotherapy, like all the weird things that sort of come once you start to look at it from the perspective of being maybe mental, emotional, then you probably feel more like a man than you did when you were doing nothing. I know I did. For me, I started feeling like a man when I just realized like I'm not going to run away from this problem again. And that's the conclusion that I want you to come to. If you can be really honest with yourself and say, look, this situation sucks. I don't want you to pretend like this is unicorns and rainbows, because it's not. It's fucking awful. I know how painful it is. And it drove me so far away from the life that I had before, which in hindsight ended up being a good thing, but it was so painful. But you can't let it control you anymore. And you need to be honest with yourself that like the road from here, there's two options. One of them is it's pretty much exactly like it is now. It feels terrible. You're not going to feel like a man, probably. You're going to, continue messing with relationships or feeling insecure in relationships or avoiding sex or whatever. And you're going to be in emotional pain. Or you can face the pain and face this problem head on. And it's also going to be painful. Like both roads suck, but only one of them has the ability to make the situation better. And nothing will make you feel more like a man than facing a difficult problem. Because the reason that you don't feel like a man right now isn't because you're losing erections. It's because you're running away from a difficult, painful problem that just keeps getting worse. So the way that you can feel like a man, literally starting today, is to start facing this. Because men face their problems. And so what I'd like you to do right now is just tell yourself, I'm going to face this. I'm not going to just sit on my butt and go down Reddit rabbit holes and like study testosterone. Like if you think it's a physical problem, by all means go down those rabbit holes. I've been there. I can tell you that in my situation, I did not get a natural erection for 5 years. My genitals shrank. I didn't have morning wood. Even watching porn, I could only get like a 50 or 60% erection. Every doctor I ever went to said you have a physical problem. And it wasn't. They were wrong. So you can go down the testosterone and nitric oxide and blood flow and all those kinds of things, venous leak. But at the end of the day, the answer to the problem is extremely simple. Okay? The thing that's causing it is that the thoughts that you have leading up to sexual situations and while you're in sexual situations could never cause you to get an erection. Think about it. I want you to think about while you were losing your erection, what was going through your mind? What were you focused on? You were checking to see how hard your dick was. Is it hard? Am I losing it? Oh no, what do? Those thoughts, if you sat down with a bottle of lube and a Kleenex in your bed alone, could never give you an erection, okay? And the sooner that you can realize that, like if you think about the actual process of how an erection happens, one is that there's some sort of stimulus. Two is that your brain sends signals down to your penis to relax the smooth muscle tissue, which is what starts to fill it up with blood. And then the third one is that filling up with blood pinches off the dorsal vein on the top. That's what happens in a healthy erection. It doesn't matter what the stimulus is. It can be touch, it can be smell, it can be visual, but no matter what it is, it's interpreted in your brain. The next thing that happens is it goes to your brain, and then your brain is responsible for sending the signal to allow the smooth muscle tissue to relax. So if you are focused on something, let's say you have two things happening. One is that somebody's touching your penis, and two is that you're thinking about football. You're not going to get hard because football isn't an arousing thought. And if you take this a step further and you pay attention to the fact that it's not that you're thinking about football, because it's possible that the pleasure of being touched could override thinking about football. But you're actually thinking about something that's putting your body into fight or flight. So am I going to lose an erection comes with, it actually triggers fight or flight, because what you're concerned about isn't really losing the erection. It's the emotional pain and embarrassment of losing it. It's the consequences it has on the relationship with the other person. Does it hurt them? Do that person not want to be around you? Are they going to cheat on you because they want good sex with someone else? Those things trigger fight or flight. And so the fight or flight system is not going to be overridden by being touched. So what's happening between your ears is the problem. And this is kind of difficult because on one hand, it's like, okay, that means I'm causing this problem. But on the other hand, it means you can fix it. So, two roads in front of you. One of them's really painful. The other one's really painful, but it can fix this problem. So, if you can take out of this video that starting today, if you face this problem, if you stop letting fear control your behavior, and if you stop avoiding this by just going down rabbit holes and thinking all day, and you start changing the way you think, you start changing the way you behave so that you feel more comfortable in the bedroom, your erections will come back. And if you would like help with that, there's a link down below. You can work with me one-on-one. This is a really fixable problem. Don't let it waste years of your life. My ED could have been solved in probably 3 to 6 months. It took me 7 years. Don't be an idiot like me. Get help.